I'm trying to get everybody inside the Zoom stream. We're just going to work out some bugs in the system. Um, so hopefully we get everything squared away, and we'll get this show on the road. So I'm just waiting on everybody to come back into the stream. Okay, so while we wait, as you can see from the group chat, was having some audio difficulties. Just trying to work that out. So let's make sure y'all know who I am. Okay. Let me make sure they got the invite to get in. Okay. So I'm actually going to have to start a new meeting in Zoom. So just bear with us. So apparently we're going to have to do this all over again. Okay. Small thing to a giant. So just bear with us, y'all. It's like any other meeting you go to. Don't never start on time, and there's always something that manages to go awry. So for this, I have to hop back into Facebook and shoot them an invite, which means waiting on Facebook to open. And it's slowly opening. Slowly but surely opening. Okay. I don't know what they did to Facebook, but for some reason now it takes forever to open. But just as soon as it does, we're going to get this show on the road. And there's a lot of different things open right now on my computer, so that may be causing it to run a little bit slower than normal as well. But it's all in trying to make sure you all can see and hear this as well as possible. And it is really taking its time. And now it says that the page is unresponsive. Great. Great, great, great. Okay. So something is going to have to close here. It never fails. Only when you need it to do something. It doesn't want to act right. You have got to be kidding me. You have seriously got to be kidding me. Okay, so Facebook is finally open, but it's not letting me get into messages in order to send the invite. They have so much crap crammed into this app now. I mean that it literally uses up so much RAM and so much of your storage just to run. It's crazy. And it just disappeared. Okay, so we're going to close the radio side of this. I hate to do it, but I really don't have a choice. So people will only be able to watch. No one will be able to listen on Rude Boy Radio 808, because apparently my computer can't take it. So that gives me an excuse to go shopping for a much more powerful computer. And they're wondering what's going on, and this thing is just acting a damn fool. Only when you need it to work. It's absolutely crazy. Unreal. Okay, it's coming. There. So hopefully this will go. Oh my gosh. Alright, so the invite finally sent. I'm not even gonna close that. I might not be able to get it back open again. So as we go back over here, and now I see that my mic is piping through. Okay, bringing in Lamar Mack. And I should be able to hear you. Say something?
Yo.
And also got Mr. Lambert.
Can you hear me?
Got everybody back. Everybody's unmuted.
Aloha, this is Marcus Landsberg.
And I still can't hear y'all. This is insane.
Hello, can you hear me? Is this working?
I don't understand what's happening. I really
Let me
don't.
see.
I can hear you.
You
But
still got me,
just
Lamar.
let me go online
Yeah,
and check something real quick. 'Cause I
Hello,
think I got
let
an
me test my
idea what might
mic.
be
There
going
we
on.
go. That's input.
you can hear me,
Output.
Mark.
Can y'all hear each
I
other?
got you.
Can you hear Mark? Lamar,
Yeah.
can you hear Mark? You can hear him? Y'all can hear each other, but I can't hear Jack Kua. And I don't get why.
Do your
wait.
headset?
Let me check something else. Let me check my volume mixer and see if something's turned down that shouldn't be.
Lamar, can he hear you?
He can't hear me.
Oh, he can't. He always talked after you said something. I thought he could hear you.
Or if my
No,
playback isn't going
I don't
where
think
it
you can hear
should
me
be.
either.
Okay. You got to plug in the headphones.
I think you're
I
using
should be hearing y'all just
you're
fine.
using an external mic, yeah.
And why I can't is just a mystery.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was
Main
watching
thing is I'm
TV in
just
the other
checking to
window.
see if on the feed you guys can be heard. If so, then we can go ahead and get into the conversation, and I will continue to work on this and see what's really going on.
He's still trying to work on that.
There's nothing coming out of OBS, which is what I'm in. So just to give you an idea of what I did, I took the video feed from Zoom and put it in OBS. And for some reason, although I can see all of the audio working in OBS, nothing appears to be coming out. And that's the part I don't seem to be getting.
So what is this one right here? I'm gonna tell you this. I can see.
Do I sound like I'm echoing to y'all?
There you go. Say something.
Oh, say something. You can hear us?
I thought because the green thing went on to his his
Oh,
window.
false alarm. Oh, here we go.
Dude, nobody told you to eat any of that.
Okay, so if y'all can hear me,
There you go. Say something. We can hear you now.
so if y'all can,
Say something.
yeah,
You
so
hear us?
Can you hear?
I can hear you. I can hear y'all through watching the live feed on my
Uh-oh.
phone. So whatever works, but as long as they can hear y'all, that's the main thing, because you guys are
You
going
got like
to
a second
predominantly
delay on you.
and
So if y'all can hear me,
There you go. Say something. We can hear you now.
so if y'all can, yeah, so
Can you hear?
I can hear you. I can hear y'all through watching.
okay. So this is the deal. For some reason in OBS, I can't hear you guys, but when I look at the feed on Facebook and I listen to it, you can hear all three of us just fine. So basically, you guys can go ahead and start the conversation, and I'll keep working on this as we go through it. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Justice League. My name is Shango the Don Raga. Got my boy Lamar Mack, and joining us this evening is lawyer Mark Landsberg from the Landsberg Law Office. And tonight's discussion is about the recent shooting of Ahmaud Arbery. It's a pretty high-profile story, all over the news. And for those of you who may not be familiar with what that story is about, he was basically jogging through his neighborhood, and he was pursued and attacked by three white men. It was actually a total of three. And unfortunately, in an ensuing altercation that followed, he lost his life. So it's kind of put everybody in an uproar. The governor of Georgia has spoken out about it. Democratic nominee Joe Biden has spoken out about it. The only person who hasn't said anything about it is good old 45. So, so, so I'm going to allow Lamar Mack and Mr. Landsberg to go ahead and get into the meat of the conversation while I keep working on the audio to make sure that everything is working right. And fellas, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Mr. Landsberg, Hawaii's favorite defense attorney.
I'll take it, Lamar. I'll take it.
Go ahead, let it rip. What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, it's a tragedy. First and foremost, above everything else, there's nothing to say except death of a young man is always a tragedy. Now, the way he passed, even worse. That's and then that it's part of this trend, I guess. Is that what we call it?
No, actually, it's been going on for a while. It's just more publicized now that technology is in play and there's video, but it's been pretty prevalent for decades, you know.
I thought you were going to say 400 years. Basically, it sure seems like, well, I mean, I remember because I was in Los Angeles when the Rodney King video broke. That's where I grew up. So I was there when it broke. And I remember very clearly saying, that's not news to us. That's just news to white people.
Right.
So the new thing is strictly, and I say new, that's what, 30 years ago.
Right.
Is that it's on video. If this had not been videoed, I don't think any of us would be talking about Mr. Arbery. And it was videoed by one of the guys who was pursuing him, which is something kids are now doing when they beat each other up in high school and junior high school. And now the kids are starting to learn maybe we shouldn't do that at Snapchat for clout when we punch each other and attack each other.
Right.
But at the root of the situation, it goes back. I'm probably not the right person to talk about the racism involved, although obviously that's there, or the historic implications, although obviously all that's present. But setting that aside, which is impossible, obviously, in this situation, but setting that aside and look at that, the root is a big misunderstanding of what citizen's arrest means. Citizen's arrest is if you see someone committing a crime, you can hold them until the police respond. It doesn't mean you get to be amateur police hour. It's not a video game where you do what you believe cops should do in that situation. It's you can hold somebody until police arrive. Now, the difference between citizens arrest and police arrest, you've probably heard of the phrase qualified immunity. Police enjoy what's called qualified immunity. If police arrest the wrong person, but they do it with the best of intentions, meaning not that they just stop a person to harass them on the street, but what they do is they stop a person because he does actually match a description, that they do hold him only for the time allotted until they can determine if it is the right person or the wrong person, and they don't hurt him more than is, let's say, legally allowed under the situation. They can't be sued personally.
Mm-hmm.
They have what's called qualified immunity. I can't sue somebody who is doing the job the government has told them to do.
Right.
Under citizen's arrest, the citizen placing under arrest has zero qualified immunity. None. There's no immunity.
Right.
So they don't get to say, well, I was acting like a cop doing my arrest, so you can't arrest me for it later. You can't sue me for it later. That's not it at all. That's why citizen's arrest, you have to be so overly sure if you engage in it. What's going on in a situation like that?
Well, how do you explain the delay in the charge being brought forth for the two Michaels?
So all I really feel comfortable about at this point, because this all is sort of relatively brand new, right? As far as us knowing, obviously it occurred 2 months ago. All I really feel comfortable talking about too much is what I see on the video, and sort of what I can divine from that and extrapolate from that based on what I understand. What we've learned from, I don't want to say videos like this, but just YouTube videos in general, right, is we don't always know what happened immediately before. And we don't know what happened the day before that, or we don't know. So I don't want to get into that too much, but the simple fact is they should have been arrested the second they had guns, and Mr. Arbery did not. They shot an unarmed man. Right. Done. There's 2 people with guns. They shot an unarmed man. They should have been arrested. The investigation should have taken place. And if they're going to be released after that investigation while they're under arrest for those 48 hours, fine. If that's
so you are saying that it is highly unusual that the circumstances where they were able to walk away from that scene and get an extra 2 months.
So if we take color out of it, it's highly unusual. If we're back in Georgia and it's 3 white people, 2 in a truck with guns and a black man, I don't know if I'm ready to say that it's highly unusual.
Right.
Is it highly wrong? 100%. I'll say that 100%. But what they should have done, like had it happened in Hawaii, had race not been a deep issue, what would have happened is they would have arrested him right away. And then maybe after 48 hours, let him go. But they would have used that 48 hours to do the investigation.
Right.
Look at the situation. Take photographs, shut down the road, maybe get a search warrant on the house, interview the 2 men separately in 2 separate rooms, usually after they sweat it out for 12 hours. They can do any of the things you've seen in TV shows, where they walk one guy past carrying the Burger King and saying, why don't you tell me what really happened? You know what I mean? And let him see what's going on, even though they're father and son. Any of that could have occurred. But what they did instead was say, it's okay. Absolutely race is an issue. I don't mean to keep saying that. I also think it's an issue that the father who was involved in this is an ex investigator for the district attorney's office.
Right.
Is what's being reported, which is functionally a cop. District attorneys here carry handcuffs. I believe investigators carry handcuffs. I believe they carry guns. They might not, but they absolutely carry handcuffs. They absolutely place people under arrest. They serve warrants. They sit on people. They guard people. They threaten people with arrest who won't show up to court. They place people on, because I've seen it, they place people on pseudo arrest where they'll sit next to them and say, you can't leave my sight. Mm-hmm. And if you don't show up to court, then I will arrest you. Like if you refuse to go to court, I'll put you in jail. But until then, you can sit next to me. So the district attorney investigators has all those powers, whether those are 100% cool or whether some are quasi-legal is a different conversation, but they absolutely do those things all the time. And to some degree, because they work in the prosecutor's office, often they'll feel like they're a step above the law than even police do. Because
Wow.
police work in a different building usually, they work in a different department, they have different training than the prosecutors do. They're separate for that reason. I mean, there's a good reason they're separate. The reason they're separate is prosecutors should be an independent check on the police department. If a police officer does something which the prosecutor thinks is fishy, they should have an investigator go double check. Go talk to the witness to see if he was threatened. Go see if he really means it. Go see if you could look out that window and really get that view through the window kind of thing, right?
Right.
Well, if you have an investigator, they're in the prosecutor's office. So now they see themselves as a check or as an oversight on the police department and buddy with the prosecutors, if that makes sense, if I'm explaining that well. So to some degree, they, in certain ways, they almost see themselves as a level up. So,
but this guy was retired, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Which means his training was probably from the 50s, the 60s. 1960s Georgia was probably when he was trained. So assuming, I mean, based on the photograph, guessing how old he is.
Right.
So, I mean, there's that. So this is what I see when I watch the video. And again, the video is only the middle part of it. So what I see is that and I see two white men, because the third one's obviously videotaping from a follow car, which is its own weird thing before we knew what was going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize that he was even getting charged for that, because I was assuming that it was just a regular citizen just happened to be, pulling up behind the incident.
Well, my first question when I saw the video is, why is someone videotaping right now? I mean, that's just my first question, because at the beginning of the video, videos are almost always triggered by something. You video for a reason, right?
Right.
Most fights, you miss videotaping the best part.
Well, the people that ride around with dash cams, those things just record all the time, though. So
that's a good point, but this one didn't look like a dash cam.
I thought it was.
This one didn't look like a dash cam to me. Just it didn't, and I don't think it was. I think it was because it kept pointing different directions, right? He kept like missing the action. So, and then I was wondering if he was trying to do that on purpose, which was, I don't think he was that smart to do it, because obviously the video got out. So
right,
we still don't know how it got out.
Video got out, right?
Still don't know. All we know is it got delivered to Lee Merritt's office. Lee Merritt is an attorney in Texas who is an amazing attorney. Everything I know about him, I like so far. I believe he represented the family of the
guy got shot by the cops in his house.
Yes, the guy in Dallas. I was trying to remember his name offhand, but I believe he represented them. And then I think he also might have represented the witness in that case when the witness got shot.
Like the witness yeah, that's right. The witness got killed too.
And that's a message you send to people if you testify to cops, right?
Right.
Of course, it was on a drug dealer from out of town. No one knows who it was, so it had to be that guy. That's
how conveniently, right?
Right. No, of course. So, but yeah, so Lee Merritt's amazing. And they're in the right hands as far as the guy who specializes in that in 2020 is that attorney. So I'm glad that he's on the case. Somehow he ended up with this video. We don't know if it was released from the police department. We don't know if it was released if the guy's family sent it out. We don't know where it came from, honestly, which is interesting in itself, because how would it get out? And I think that might be something else we hear later. So, but what I see in watching it is, he's jogging down the road. They're already waiting ahead in the truck. One guy's in the bed of the truck. And this is the way I process it. If I was defense attorney and it got delivered to me as evidence for a case. One man gets out of the car first. When you get out of a car to confront someone else who is either in or out of a car, to me, that's a challenge to a fight.
Right.
I think if you step out of a car, you're challenging the other side to a fight.
I mean, what do you expect if somebody roll up on you with weapons and they're not law enforcement? Like, what would be the normal reaction of anybody. Like first of all, you're gonna fear for your life, and that's not even putting the whole racial aspect side of it. I mean,
100%.
it could be vice versa. Like
So
you just don't roll up on people with weapons. You don't do that.
I see him, Mr. Arbery. I see him run around the right side of the car, as if he's trying to run on the other side of them. And then the driver gets out of the car, and he seems to be getting out of the car as Mr. Arbery is running around the right side. Well, when he runs around the right side, he seems to cut in the front of the car. Both of the men already have their guns out. These shotguns, I believe, they might be rifles, but long guns.
Yeah, one was reported a shotgun, and the other one was reported as a 357 revolver.
Oh, was it revolver? They both look like long guns to me, but that's what I saw. And then when he gets out of the car, before Mr. Arbery is able to get over to his side of where he is, I hear a gunshot.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, how can it be a stand your ground plea if you're not, there's nothing to stand your ground on? You initiated the assault.
So that's the interesting thing about stand your ground. Like, so I am not actually someone who's completely against stand your ground generally. I'm against the way it seems to be enforced.
Mm-hmm.
It does make sense to me, stand your ground. And Hawaii is sort of a quasi-technically stand your ground state. You're not required to retreat unless you can do it with full safety. Now, if someone's coming at you or you can never, honestly, very rarely retreat in full safety, right? Like if you're behind a cinder block wall, or maybe you could jump in a car and close the door, maybe then you can retreat in full safety. But it's hard to say that. But it doesn't apply if you start the confrontation. So if they start the confrontation, Mr. Arbery clearly doesn't want to talk to them. There's no suggestion he wanted to have a conversation with them. By all accounts, it's kidnapping. It's just that if it's a citizen's arrest, which is valid, kidnapping can be excused. But an arrest is kidnapping. It's just
but that's why the investigations are left up to the law enforcement, and you just can't go making a citizen arrest when you don't even have the facts.
Well, so the thing is, you can just be sued about it later. Like you're just not insured by taxpayers when you do it wrong. And there's 1,000 good reasons for that. But what I see is a gunshot before he even gets over there. So at that point, it's already kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, and attempted murder.
Or more like attempted murder.
But it starts with attempted kidnapping and rolls into attempted murder. So you're already 2 of the top 5 types of crimes that you're going to hit there.
Well, I would like to know what was initially said from the onset of it. Get over here, boy. Some type of stuff was going on. Because I don't know why they think that somebody would listen to them and they're rolled up on them with weapons.
So I think we're all going to sort of speculate about that forever. I don't know what he said, and if it's on the video, I'll watch it, but I don't see it. And I don't know when it started. I don't know if they passed him. I don't know if they were waiting for him. I don't know any of that stuff. But the truth is, even if they thought he was in the process of a crime, you can't just shoot him.
Right.
Like, you don't get to just shoot someone who's running down the street. Even if they later found the backpack with a TV in it, right? A big screen or whatever, jewels. Right. That doesn't excuse shooting a person jogging down the street. What he could have done is stayed in the car. They could have stayed with the windows up. They could have yelled at him. They could have stayed at a safe distance. They could have called it in. They could have taken photos. I mean, the lady on the phone, because they released a 911 call, at least what purports to be the 911 call. And if that's correct, with the 911 call, basically they say, so what are you stopping of? Like, what's the suspect? Right. And they didn't really have a reason why he should be stopped.
The crazy thing I was just thinking about was the policy like Best Buy and Walmart and all those guys have, where you can walk in there and walk out without, not supposed to be confrontation.
Yeah.
So
So
it
so
just baffled my mind that this dude is running down the street and it's two big guys against one guy,
right.
and you shoot him. Like that
It's
just
completely
mind boggling.
unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. And to me, getting out of the car, let alone holding the guns, but there's no reason he should be getting out of the car holding guns.
Like if
I
you
mean,
have
it's
time to go back and get guns and orchestrate somebody to videotape you going to get this guy, you have plenty of time to call the cops and let the cops handle that
and you can
situation.
follow him at a distance. You can
Exactly.
take photos. You can
And he's jogging. Where else was he going?
I mean, you probably can't shoot him with paintballs, but that would be better than shooting him with bullets. You know what I mean? So he can't get away. You can catch him later. You can. There's all sorts of things, but what's the
You know
inciting factor?
what kills me about people don't think when they do these things. Let's say put the racial part aside from it.
Oh, this guy
Like
thinks he deserves an award. He's gonna come out of this asking for an award.
you think so?
He did the same thing. This is Zimmerman, man. I'm
Wow.
protecting my neighborhood from a guy who is breaking into houses. You think he's ever gonna
But
say?
obviously the neighborhood knew him and not this other guy.
Well, you think he's ever gonna say, "I think I got the wrong guy"? He's never gonna say, "Oh, you know what? I might have missed. I'm sorry, I got the wrong guy." It's just not gonna happen. So it's an absolute tragedy completely. And the tragedy is that we've lost faith in our police to do the investigations and then sort of coached people to go shoot people on their own, which is unacceptable to me. Unacceptable. Maybe it's acceptable in those communities. I don't know, but it shouldn't be. Shouldn't be remotely legal. So,
Right.
it, yeah,
Yeah, it's just a tragic situation. Just all the way around. Something that the country definitely did not need right about now. We don't need it never, but right about now we definitely don't need that because we're already somewhat divided as it is. So we definitely don't need it that divide to open wider, I guess.
and the idea that people are looking at this and saying, "Yeah, sounds justified to me." I don't understand how that works at all. It just does not. It does
Yeah,
not.
that's the other thing. Is like when you approach this with a rational mind and you put yourself in that situation or one of your family members, I guarantee you it wouldn't be justifiable. I guarantee. Like
Yeah.
it just like I said, it could have been a white dude that got killed. I still would say like, nah, that ain't right.
Mhm.
It ain't right at all.
Not at all. Well, you shouldn't be chasing people down the street with guns generally, but especially in this situation. So I really think they had 100 other alternatives besides shooting him. I think even if they did find $1 million of jewels in his bag that he had been stealing from all the houses, you don't get to do that. There's
Right.
1,000 other things they could have done. And it's pretty clear he didn't start the fight. Like he didn't start the physical confrontation. Oh, this is what I was going to say based on what you said about Best Buy. I was trying to say and I forgot. The reason why that's such an important policy is what it tells you is that lives are always more important than things.
Correct.
And that's a fact. And we have to accept that. If you won't accept that, I don't mean you personally, but if you as a human being will not expect that human lives are more important than physical things, me and you have nothing to relate about. We cannot be friends. We cannot associate. I can't go to the same buffet as you. Like I just can't do it.
Right.
You're not allowed in my circle of life, period. So once we accept that lives are more important than physical things, then what we have to look at is how do we protect lives? And there was 1,000 ways they could have done it this way, and they chose to end a life instead. And that's 100% the reason why the laws against murder exist. This is the type of case why murder is illegal. Period. There's nothing else. That's what this is.
So what you think? video evidence opposed to not having a video? Where do you think this case probably would have went?
I think if there was no video, me and you wouldn't be talking about it. I think this happens. I don't want to say all the time, but I mean, like you said, it's not the first.
Right.
And just the difference is this is the one with the video, right? Rodney
Right.
King was the first man beat by the LAPD. He was the first one where what was the guy's? I forget the guy's name, but he was the first one where the guy had a very clear video of it from a great, because all of a sudden handheld VHS cameras were a thing.
Yeah, I was about to say that's back when the VCRs was in play back then.
Well, it was like $1,000 to buy a VHS camera, so no one had it, and so this was
Right.
like the guy. That guy was like, "I'm balling with my camera."
The big bulky ones, you remember?
I think so. I think it was. I think
You
that's
put
what.
the whole VHS tape in it.
And even he, I think, didn't really realize it was going to change the world. This video, and I think it did,
Yeah.
as far as open people's eyes. But
Right.
at one point, he was trying to get his name not associated with it because he was the guy who filmed it. So
That's crazy. 30 years ago, and man, we're still talking about the same issues 30 years ago.
And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in 30 years. I mean, it's not going to stop. It'll get better. It's not going to stop. I mean, honestly, we need more. We need better schools. That's it. You need integrated schools. You need better schools, better public schools. That's what you need. It's the problem solved when black kids and white kids eat lunch together. It's sort of silly to say, but that's what it is. And even if it's not 100% of the time, or it's not all the time, and it's not every day, but if we lunch together, we celebrate our differences and our similarities, and understand we're all mad at our parents, and understand, that we all don't want to do our homework, and we all like the one girl who's attractive in the corner of the classroom, and we might not have the same taste, but it's similar, and it all work out. And that's what happens if you go to school together. And if you don't, what you learn is they're the enemy, right? And that's the tragedy. And we see it again. I'm certain that's what happened here.
But like I said, it's that love factor is taught at home. You gotta teach your kids love. When you teach your kids love, I think they rise above a lot of these other challenges that they're going to be facing in the world. We know, because it's so technical savvy type of world we live in these days, a lot of as parents, a lot of what we teach can be undone because of everybody's on their phones these days, especially the kids coming up.
Yeah.
So it's easy to hook them in, is what I'm seeing with a lot of the youth. They really can be hooked in on a lot of different things, from social matters to financial matters as well too. All these little different companies that's out here, ML marketing companies out here looking for new blood, fresh blood. I tell my daughters, like, the things that you're going through and experience, like, man, when I was in my 20s, I went through all that too. Amway, all kinds of stuff. People trying to get you into these companies. So it's like, I know I didn't done that.
You're gonna embarrass me, but I'm on up. There was one summer I came home from college. I told my parents, "Hey, Cutco wants to hire me. I'm gonna sell these knives to all your friends. I'm gonna sell so many of these knives to all your friends." And my dad said, "Look, if you want to go work for them, I'm not gonna stop you. You're welcome to do it, but you're not allowed to sell it to any of our friends."
Right.
And I said, "Well, shit, you just cut out the bottom of my business plan." And then I went back to playing video games.
Sales companies have been around for generations,
Yeah.
For
And they start by selling me
different names.
And they start by selling me the first iPad, right? So that's what it was. So, I mean, it's a tragedy. We'll see if they even get convicted. I don't know. I guess they've been charged right now. I don't really have faith that they're going to be convicted, to tell you the truth. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
I think more evidence will come out. This is still sort of day one of the investigation. So I'm waiting for more evidence. I am tentative to think that it might not really, it might not happen, that they might not be convicted. They might be Is exonerated the right word? Unfortunately,
About it, if they don't get convicted, you know it's gonna cause an uproar. It's gonna cause riot. These guys don't get convicted. I already see this happening.
well, I mean, the thing is, the if they don't get convicted, I think. Well, I was
You
going to
already-
say I think the feds are going to step in, but I don't know if I trust the current federal administration, right? So, because then there's good people on both sides is the problem.
right.
You know, if it was LA, if it was Detroit, if it was New York, I'd believe you that there'd be like an uprising. Georgia, I don't know. I just don't know Georgia that well. I really don't. And I don't know if they're invested in this the same way other people are. The
Right.
same way we are in the bigger cities or in the internet community kind of thing. We'll see.
I know Atlanta, they held some type of protest today. So everything is just kind of moving kind of fast right now. So
right. No,
I'm
and it's
gonna take a wait and see approach, and you know, before
and
I
quite
really
frankly,
go all in.
quite frankly, I haven't seen how big the city is or the how close it is to Atlanta, or because you're right. If Atlanta is close, if that's close, then you know it could be a totally different story. If there's going to be some kind of march or protest of some sort, especially if it's.
But it might not just be Atlanta. I mean, like I said, it can be like like how the Rodney King thing went. It went nationwide. So
well,
this thing kind of got a lot of people upset. Like on a different level.
What'd they say? It was in every major city except for I think Detroit because James Brown played a concert.
Yeah, Detroit already had his riot.
No, it was like there was one city where James Brown was playing a concert. And they said because he was playing a concert, everyone was busy at the concert.
Everybody was at the concert, huh?
So no one caused trouble. They wanted to see the show. That's what they said. It was a Chicago or Detroit or something. It was one of those.
A spray thing. I'm gonna use that. No, I was talking to my son.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, it's totally a tragedy. People are going to talk about other things. People are going to talk about everything else that's involved, the racism, the institutional racism, the shooting, the structure that got us to this point. But at the end of the day, we got to remember one man died, and young men, and that's to me the biggest tragedy and the real issue that I want us to think about and remember and think about that kid really who died, whatever he was doing, whether he had a criminal record, whether he was stealing, and I don't think he was, but whatever it was, I think we need to keep in mind that even if, and I'm not saying he was, I don't think he was, but even if he was on the wrong track, if that comes out at some point, he didn't need to die.
Right.
I mean, me at 18 was not. I mean, I was doing some good stuff. There's certain things that maybe I shouldn't be doing. And at some point, I learned, right? And I have other friends who are lawyers.
He was 25 though.
Was he 25? He looked young.
Yeah, he's 25.
Even at 25,
he would have been 26 today.
Oh, there you go. So even at 25, I mean, there's a lot of people who turn their lives around at 30 or turn their lives around at 35. And the other thing is what you learn through when you're 25 is what colors the rest of your life. So I have friends, for example, I have a good friend who is the president of Habilitat. He's grown to be my friend. I knew him through work first. He's now sort of the chairman of Habilitat, makes decent money, literally saves people's lives. People addicted to drugs come to him to get off drugs. But 25, 30, I think over, he was addicted to heroin, I want to say 15, 18 years. So if we judge him on that, he hit the bottom. Like, that's not who I want in my society. But who he is now, he wouldn't be able to be that if he wasn't that first. And now he's saving lives. So we got to remember how important that is.
Yeah, people have the ability to change, and I always say you have a choice. You have a choice to take this path. We got a choice to take that path. So you're gonna have to make those choices.
Every single day, every single minute, you're making a choice of what you do with your time and what you're doing with your mind state and what you're doing. And that's sort of the way, like when I raise my son, that's what I try and raise him. I try not to tell him he's doing the wrong thing or he's doing something dumb. I try and tell him, the way I try and raise is that really what you want to do right now? Like, you can be a nice kid or you can be a mean kid. Do you want to be nice? Do you want to be nice to your mom or do you want to be mean to your mom? Right? Do you want your mom to be happy? Do you want to be sad? How you make her happy? You want to be nice to her? Well, then why don't you do nice things? I bet if you do nice things, she'd be happy, right? You'd be happy to you. And every minute is a choice like that. Of course, I choose a lot of the time to sleep late and play video games. So maybe I should make better choices.
Hey, you're not the only one to play video games.
My man.
We be spending a lot of times on that Call of Duty. And I know Shango do too. I can't believe this dude mic ain't working.
So I hope that kind of explains the situation the way I see it. I do think they have legal defenses, unfortunately. I think it's going to be an interesting trial. I don't know what part of Georgia it's in. I don't know what the jury makeup is going to be. I don't know if there's going to be a black man on the jury.
Right. Well, from what I'm hearing, the neighborhood is predominantly holy. So,
well, who'd have guessed that? Well, I mean, I have a joke every time I walk into court here. I walk in and go, "This is outrageous. There's not one Jew on the jury." And no one knows what to say, but because it's generally true.
It's funny, see, because I was actually thinking about calling this night "Two Brothers and a Jew."
I'll take it. I'll take it. So yeah,
somebody thought it might be too controversial, so we just call it Justice League,
I'll take that too. Controversy sells. That's how it goes. Yeah.
But speaking of that, how is Megan Kyle?
Oh, you called me on the. Call me. You got me on the side.
I can hear the conversation. It's just with such a delay. I didn't want to try to jump in because it would sound really weird me coming in the middle of everything that's been said. But great convo. A lot of good points. A lot of valid points. I think the only thing that I can now contribute to this discussion is that when you look back over history at the plight of people of color in this country, and I'm not just going to limit it to black people. When you look back at what happened during the Civil Rights Movement, when Mexican Americans were fighting for their rights, when Native Americans were fighting for their land, when Chinese Americans and Japanese Americans were, thrown into intern camps and, forced to work the railroads. People of color have been subject to the most extreme forms of violence in this country. Now, everything that you guys said, I'm on board with it. Even going back to what Mark was talking about earlier, as far as their culpability, the two guys who actually were engaged in it and the guy that was chasing and holding the camera, they're all culpable. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you dice it, they all contributed to the death of that man. And he was out freaking jogging. He wasn't out peeking in windows. He wasn't tampering with cars. He wasn't, yelling at old ladies crossing the street. He just went for a jog, and now he's dead. And that's something that is going to impact this country just as drastically as COVID-19 has. I think me and Lamar Mack was talking about that earlier today. How our people they have their superstitions and their beliefs. We're in the end times, and this is the Armageddon that was talked about in Revelation. If you look at it, the world as we know it is dead and gone. But in the same token, the events around Ahmaud Arbery's death, there was another guy in Indianapolis that was shot and killed. When all of these things continue to accumulate, it's kind of like when you have a dog and you're not so nice to that dog, and the dog keeps taking it and cowering and tucking its tail between his legs, but eventually that dog's gonna bite your ass. So I'm fearful for what this may mean in the near future. We're all fathers here. We are all fathers. And I fear for what my sons may have to face when they graduate high school and step out into the world. This world is a lot bigger than Oahu. It's a lot bigger than Hawaii. So I fear for them stepping out as multi-ethnic young men and women going into a world that's not going to see them as being Filipino and black, or Samoan and black, or Hawaiian Portuguese and black, or Hawaiian Chinese Filipino and black. All they're going to see is black, and they're going to go into different spots and different places where that is really going to put them at risk, given this rash of shootings and killings of unarmed people of color. So,
But and
in agreeing
that's
with
where
Mark,
our
oh,
education
I
is
can't hear you,
different.
so I don't want to be stepping over. But in
Okay.
agreeing with Mark, I'm gonna fix this. Give me some duct tape and a coat hanger, and I'm gonna fix this. Um, in agreeing with Mark about it does not give them a right, no matter what the hell they thought. They could have thought he had an atomic bomb strapped to his chest, running down the middle of the street. That didn't give them a right to roll up on him with weapons. If you roll up on me with a gun, I'm fighting for my life because I don't know what your intentions are. So the way I feel about it at that point, it's going to be one of us. It's either going to be me or you, and I'm trying to go home, so sorry, but not sorry. So what I hope this incident does do is illuminate to everybody that our country still has a very, very serious problem. And when it comes down time for the election, I hope that the images of Ahmaud Arbery getting shot on the side of a road where he was just out for a morning jog, I hope those images come up when you get ready to check off a name in that ballot box. I sincerely do. Because I don't think that our country can take another 4 years of what the hell has been going on. And I'm not just going to blame it on Donald Trump. He's just one man. But the ideology that he has been able to, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say distribute, but the ideology he's been able to push off on the American public to embolden and invigor, these redneck mother. I'm gonna keep it kosher. I'm gonna keep it kosher. But the ideology of hate and prejudice and suspicion and all of that he's been able to just project on the public is just crazy to me. And it's kind of like watching a movie. I watch these dudes lie through their freaking teeth every time they're in front of a camera, and people just keep saying, "Oh, okay." And the more complacent we get, the worse it's going to get. So I hope that this is kind of that fire that gets under a lot of people's butts, that we can't be complacent. We cannot. We have to always be vigilant in fighting evil when we see it. And if we stop doing that because we feel like it's not our problem, don't be surprised when it becomes your problem. Okay, I'm shut up now. Y'all can go back talking.
I mean, I'm not the one who should be commenting on that. I'm here to support. But I don't know what it's like to be a black man in America. I know what it's like to be a minority, not in America, really. I mean, maybe, I guess, for what I am. I know what it's like to pass until someone finds out you're actually Jewish. I've had people actually look for my horns, actually, where I didn't realize it until somebody explained to me. I want to say it was like 2 weeks later. Someone said, "Don't you realize what he was doing when he did that?" Right? Because he
That's what I'm
honestly thought
saying
I had horns.
about about being a black man in America. Our conversation to our kids is totally different
Ah.
than probably the conversation you would have with your kids.
Tell me what it is. I want to hear it.
So it's about like how they deal. Well, I won't speak for everybody, but for me, I always try to tell them how to handle law enforcement if they get pulled over. Especially if it's howly law enforcement. And how things may turn quickly if you don't conduct yourself in a certain manner. So it's always like we have that fear and that threat. Like if you get pulled over by a cop just for even a parking violation,
Yes.
most people don't, uh, or a moving violation. Most people don't fear for their life, but for a black person, it takes on a whole new meaning. Because of the things that have happened in the past with us, and law enforcement. And, by, over the decades of a lot of white supremacists being on law enforcement, treatment was brutal. And like I said, now that technology is in place now people are just catching up to what's been happening for a very long time. But we never had the chance to prove it because always our word against their word.
Right.
So
No, 1,000%.
I'm saying that everybody, our experience is very different than everybody else's experience, and
All you got to do is look at the recent marches on the Capitol buildings of men with guns, which was the state where they actually marched into the Capitol rotunda of the state where they had guns over their back. And I was like, yeah, I guess they're allowed to have guns in the room. Meanwhile, you get unarmed black men shot by police constantly.
Exactly.
There were the two that got me sort of the worst. I want to say they were both out of South Carolina. The one where the cop said, show me your ID. So the guy turned to get his ID out of the truck, and then the cop shot him. And as the guy's falling down, he says, you told me to get my ID.
Right.
Right. And then the other one was the one where they actually filmed the cop take the taser off his belt and throw it on the guy that he had just shot. They saw him shoot the cop. The cop shot him in the back, walked over to the guy he had just shot, take his taser off and throw it on the ground right next to the guy. And what they did was they didn't release
the video. He didn't realize he had a body cam on, huh? Or he forgot he had a body cam on?
No, there are cops who forgot body cameras, but those guys, come on.
Oh.
Come on with that stuff. No, what happened was there was a jogger running. He saw the confrontation, so he was filming from behind a chain link fence, behind some bushes.
Wow.
Because he was hiding, right? So he's filming, but he didn't turn over the video for like 5 or 6 days. So the cop had already written his report by the time the video came out.
Oh yeah, he probably trying to figure out what's going to be the outcome of him turning that video once he saw that evidence.
Well, what happened was the police report was we wrestled over the taser. He took it from me. When he took my taser, I had to shoot him.
Well, yeah, I knew it was BS.
But what ended up, once you watch the video, he takes it off his belt and throws it at him while he's on the ground dying.
Dead to rights.
So those two are the videos that always get me the worst. Of all the, I mean, not that any of them are good, but of all the videos I see, those are the ones that really kill me.
Yeah, it's crazy times and crazy world we live in, but like I said, that's why I always try to project positivity and love and, surround myself around good, positive people and pray for the best, that I don't come in confrontation with anybody that wants to do me harm just because of, the skin of my, the color of my skin. I travel a lot and, I travel into I was just in Iowa, and
oh yeah,
my expectations of Iowa was man, I'm going into a hostile territory, and,
is that right?
Yeah, that was my expectation. I'm not gonna sit here and lie because it's not where I went to go see my daughter play for her nationals. It's not that many black folks in that area, so I really wasn't knowing what to expect over there. But I went over there. I was pleasantly surprised how open everybody was and welcoming. So,
well, a lot of it is the context, right? For whatever reason, these guys were in the context where they're waiting to find somebody to shoot, is what it looks like.
Right. That's why I say a lot of people with guns, man. Like I think some of these guys, they looking to see what happens once they shoot something, So.
Well, I mean, less guns mean less people get shot, period. I don't buy any other permutation of that logic.
Right.
Maybe less bullets, but less guns means less people get shot, period. And I don't buy that more guns make you safer, or open carry or close carry or whatever is going to make you safer. I don't buy any of that. Less people get shot, period. And I don't want people shot. That's the way I want my country to be generally, or the world. I want less people shot.
Or, yeah, because
if one person shot, I want less people shot. whatever's going to make you safer. I don't buy any of that.
I just told you that. I told you that earlier. But yeah, I mean, that's how I feel about it. I mean, really, what do you need an AK for? What do you need an AK for? You know, what do you really need an AK? But to produce carnage and damage, and you know. But like I said, when those guys went back and got their weapons or whatever and orchestrated this whole thing, you know, it just, you know, sometimes that people just need to mind their own business. This is a clearly case of just mind your own business.
Right. No,
Mind your own
100%. And you know what? Had they got out there without guns, I think there would have been told, well, one, no one would have been shot.
Right.
But maybe they could have said, hey, are you breaking into houses? Are you stealing stuff? They'd still be racist. They'd still be white bread, chicken, butter. But everybody would be alive. They wouldn't be in jail. They wouldn't be going to jail for the rest of their life.
Because look at this. It has a classic case of the ghetto boys and white pickup truck and shotguns and 357s. Like, you know, it just is the, I mean, how else can you break it down but that way, you know?
100%. 100%. Let's see.
You know.
So Satilla Shores, the place where he was shot, it's saying it is, let me see. Oh, I was looking for it. It just said.
Yeah, you still didn't tell me about Megan Kyle.
Well, we're gonna save that for the next interview, is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna use that as a way for you guys to force you guys to bring me back. I like Megan very much. I consider her a personal friend. I text her all the time. I don't agree with all of her positions. I do think she's an honest person. I do think she's would be doing what she's doing for the best of Hawaii, I think, or Honolulu, I think, Oahu, I think she would be doing it for the best. I don't always agree with all of her positions. I don't want to say anything that's going to make her cut me, because I think she'd cut a person. But at the same time,
she's not going to look you there.
Megan,
she's going to run for mayor, though, yeah?
Megan will chip your tooth. Megan's not someone to...
No, she's not ready for mayor. She ran for prosecutor, right?
Prosecutor. If you got
ready for the prosecutor. Yeah.
No, 100%. So, I mean, but I like Megan very much. She's it's a close race, and I'm gonna have to deal with whoever wins. So I don't want to say anything too much one way or the other, but Judge Alm has a very good chance. And there's some other people running who I really like. If you look into Jackie Esser, who's a public defender, for example, she's a nice lady. I like her very much. She has some position. Of all the people who are going to come out in favor of Ahmaud Arbery, I think Jackie Esser might be the first, quite frankly. And then, you know, there's a couple other people running, and maybe that's why. But you know, I'm going to need you guys to.
But how is it you go from I'm sorry. I'm
going to need you guys to get behind my election in 4 years when I start running. I'm going to need
what are you going to run for? You going to run for mayor or prosecutor?
Got to be prosecutor, man. Someone's got to keep us safe.
But how you go from so is that the trend? You go from being on the defense side, and you see all the workings of defense side.
Honestly, what ends up happening is you normally go the other way. Normally what happens is you start right out of law school being a prosecutor, and you sort of have two options. You could be a lifetime prosecutor, or you could get a little bit trial experience, and then you go make real money doing insurance defense.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you stay there sort of a medium amount of time, then you go to the defense side and you use your connections at the prosecutor's office to sort of get deals or to do kinds of things that way.
So that's pretty much how it works. You know, like in the whole promotion things, you know, it's like you kind of work your way up in the ranks, and it's all about kind of who you know, and
yeah,
you know, you collaborate and things like that. So that goes on the same thing on the judicial side.
Kind of. Very, very rarely does a defense attorney then go back to being a prosecutor. It just doesn't usually happen because financially the balance line is skewed, right? If you're good enough to be head prosecutor, you should be good enough to make more money than that as a defense attorney, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an election. So people got to win an election. And that's a weird way to get a job if you think about it. So when they
Right.
decide to
So
get a job that
really
way,
on your merit.
that's
It's not really
weird.
on your merit. It's about your ability. Then.
Right. So, well, who knows about being a mayor? I mean, that's
Did you hear?
another whole fiasco right there, right? So,
Hold
you know,
on.
some people
Sound
go
coming
from
in.
prosecutor
There
to
you
mayor.
go.
Some people go from
Say something.
prosecutor to jail. So that might be what happens for Kaneshiro. We'll see. So it's not. I mean, the problem is all eyes are on
that
right?
whole scenario, that whole thing with my God, that with the police, the chief of police, and his wife, and
The
man,
fact
that
that
was
is not.
like something to see out of a movie. Like really, like I mean that if you can have a picture of what the ultimate greed looks like, it would have those two on the picture. I would believe.
Well, the fact that the head police officer is married to the third in charge at the prosecutor's office, and they're arrested federally, and that is not national news and an amazing movie, blows my mind. How that is not on every channel. Like,
It's
why
coming.
everybody is not calling me going, what?
It's
Like,
coming.
like why that it's not national is insane to me, because it's just, I mean, that's small town nonsense, not a town of 1.2 million like Honolulu, right?
Right.
That's like the police chief is married to the prosecutor, but then, you know, our friends are, but she was texting the person she was prosecuting.
Hey, you know the crazy thing, like so much dirt just came up from all of that. You know, like just from over somebody spilling out of a mailbox or spilling a mailbox.
And
Like,
this is what's important to remember. No one believed him. No one believed Gerald Puano about the mailbox except for his public defender. So his public defenders get a bad rap, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't. His public defender went to his boss and said, you know what? We need to buy this mailbox. And the boss was like, it's a $700 mailbox. What are you talking about? And he goes, no, this is the mailbox they said they stole. So they bought two mailboxes. They brought them to the, because I listened to a whole speech on it. They brought two mailboxes. They brought them to the office. They had an expert. They had the guy from the company. Because the guy from the company, the mailbox company, well, you know this. Who am I talking to about mailboxes? The guy from the company came because he didn't want people to think anybody could just steal his mailbox. They were getting this bad rap that you could just run out the car, pip off the mailbox, throw it in the back, and drive off, right? He didn't want them to think that. So he came to the public defender's office, gave him a whole speech, like taught him how to install the mailbox. Impossible to steal unless you do this, this, and this first. So they had figured it out. Like it had been preset for somebody to take. And they still haven't convicted anybody of actually doing the stealing or the taking of the mailbox. Right. Nobody's owned up to being that person. They don't know which of the police or which of the police officers' friends did it. They just know it wasn't the uncle who they blamed, who lost in civil court. He owed them, I want to say, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hey, and I'm not even sure it's going to be overturned if it hasn't been already. But
I have some cop friends, and I know how they can be. they don't play fair. Put it that way.
There's nothing I like more on a jury when I'm going to have a bad jury trial than you get a cop's wife in the jury box. Because the first question you go, all right, I don't want to talk about your husband. I don't want to talk about your husband's friends personally, but do cops generally ever lie? And they all give you the same answer. They look at you and then they smile and go, maybe. You know, like everybody knows. Like it's a husband.
That should be a hell to the yes.
I'm going to be an hour late. I'm going to be whatever. You know what I mean? Especially if they're an ex-wife.
Yes, God damn it.
And then you get cops on the stand. They start testifying. And people are like, well, you know, she just told me. She knows some cops. So But I mean, that's what we train them to do. So hopefully we train them to stop doing that. And if Megan gets elected or Jackie gets elected or Alm gets elected, it's on the prosecutor's office to say, we will not accept somebody who lies to testify. That's their job to say that. And we need to, as citizens, hold them to do that job, not say, how do we convict more people, but say, how do we correct more people, if that makes sense? How do we make sure honest people are testifying? I can talk about this stuff all night if you let me. I don't think you really want to, but I'll talk about it.
Nah, I was thinking my battery's going down. No, I was
Uh-oh.
wait a minute to check something. Yeah, there we go.
Well, I mean, if you'll have me back on the regular, I'll answer questions when you want. We don't got to wait for people to get shot. You know what I mean? If you guys are bringing back the 2.0 show, if you guys are bringing back the show, let me be part of it. Let me be your man on the law. I'm here.
You already know you're going to get that call.
You don't got to wait for somebody. I was telling him when I used to be on the radio station, I was telling you don't got to wait for Justin Bieber to get arrested. You can call me about whatever. You used to always call me when Justin Bieber was.
Because we got to get ready for when 6ix9ine, do something stupid again. To talk to 6ix9ine. So we gotta wait for him to do something stupid again.
he released a song or something today, yeah.
Mr. Skittles boy,
Can we just pretend he don't exist? I'm okay with pretending he don't exist.
I'm just like, how can don't get me started on this dude. Don't get me started. It's just crazy how things have changed where snitches used to get stitches. and you didn't mess with these dudes, but now this dude came back out and everybody's like riding with him. Like, it's a lot of people riding with him. I'm like, wow, okay.
There really are.
I'm like, wow, but I'm not surprised. I've seen a lot of the things that the values of yesterday years have deteriorated a lot.
Well, let me be old man on the mount. Like, I forget about the whole snitching thing. He also just makes bad music. Like, I can't listen to that stuff.
That too.
That's why they should throw him out the bus.
But
get rid of that. I don't. That's the
I
one.
Just think as an artist, you got to be, well rounded, and those things that he did. I don't know. Maybe you can contribute that to youth and adolescence and not being mature enough and things like that, so
it seems like nowadays you make money from YouTube views instead of from actually making music that people want to buy and stuff like that, right? So you can make comedy songs and you can make joke songs and you can make songs where your lyrics are you dumb, stupid, or dumb? And people will watch it so you can hear the line that says, oh, he said, are you dumb, stupid, or dumb? And then get dollars off the hits, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we know Shango's favorite song. It was "It's So Cold in the D." Let's see if he was listening.
I guess the delay's longer than I thought. No, I love that song. I know exactly what you're talking about. That one.
But yeah, it's been a lot of trashy songs that's been coming out, man. And,
Check. Oh, sorry. All right.
Now
you
got
people watching like, man, Shango ain't saying nothing, man. He the one, man. He normally be running his mouth. He ain't saying nothing. Well, it's because I can't. It's because I can talk and hear myself talk right here, but I can't hear everybody else, and I ain't want to be stepping all over the conversation. But if you gentlemen are of like mind, we can go ahead on and wrap this up because we don't want to take everything out of Mark just yet. We want to save a little bit. But this has been
I think that's
awesome.
Fair. I think that's okay.
Hopefully on the next one, definitely by the time
anyway,
we start the Mac and the Don Show 2.0, we'll have this worked out so that I just don't have to sit here and listen to latency feed on my phone while y'all have all the fun. But but at least I know everything else works.
I thought you were following your lawyer's advice and just not saying anything.
If you guys are in agreement to go ahead and wrap it up, I want to thank Mr. Landsberg from Landsberg Law Office for stopping by and sharing his thoughts and sharing his knowledge. definitely considered a friend to me, to Lamar Mack, and probably a lot of other people. So we would definitely love to have you back on here again as often as possible for different things, because I think that you have a lot to share that a lot of people can benefit from. So this is my good night. See y'all later. But I'll let you guys go ahead and say your goodbyes as well. And then, Lamar, you can close out, and I'll be listening, or just wave your hand at me or something, and I'll go ahead and shut it down.
All right. Go ahead, Marky Mark. I let Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch go ahead.
Well, I just appreciate you letting me come talk to you and talk to your audience. That's I mean, this is a trying time. Anytime something like this happens, and anytime I can share what there's very little I know about a very little topic. And
Right.
so when that
But-
topic comes up, I like to be able to share the information I have, because when I need information from other people, they share with me. So anytime you guys think I can contribute to the conversation, or I can be a part of talking to your audience, especially now when I'm locked in a room and can't go outside, I'm more than happy to do that. And I appreciate you guys letting me talk like I know what I'm saying. I appreciate that very much. So.
Well, like I said, in order for change have to come, the dialogue, we have to speak on these things and talk about it amongst the different ethnic backgrounds, and address the problems and the situations, and enlighten everybody on our perspectives and views on it, because we all grow up different. Some grew up with a silver spoon, and some grew up from the gutter. And our mindset and how we see the world is always going to look different. And especially when you come from different financial and economic backgrounds, it's going to look different as well too. So, but it's good that people like yourself, Mark, you see the injustices and things that's going on, and I've been watching you over the last 5 years, and I've seen you take on cases, and you're like a poker player. You be all in with it, So got nothing but respect for you, and helping out people, and doing your thing and raising your kids and taking care of your family, man. And appreciate you coming on our show. And
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much for those kind words.
Oh yes, man. Like I said, I keep it real with everybody. If you're doing good, I got no problem in letting people know, they doing good. Like my man Shango, that's why I reached out to him and, let him know, like, man, hey, this might be the time that we need to reconnect and put things out and start a dialogue to somewhat educate people on things, because I think a lot of time history has watered down a lot of things, so a lot of people don't really know why Black people feel a certain way and why they roll a certain ways, because the thing that has happened in history has created a domino effect on a lot of things. That our past affects our future. But if it's not taught in the history, there's a great part of the population that will never understand why we feel the way that we feel and why we are the way that we are.
And I think it's important to remember that history is taught differently to different people.
Correct.
Like, guaranteed your parents taught you history different than mine. Like it wasn't even till earlier where I realized, like, not everybody might know the Passover story I do. And if I talk to Jews a certain way, I can reference it, and we've all memorized it because we do it once a year. Right. But if I talk about like the 4 questions to you, or I talk about like the wise son, the wicked son, the simple son, and the one who's too young, my assumption is you guys are like, wait, either maybe someone talked about it, or I had no idea.
But see, you got that, it filtered down from your elders, correct? You didn't learn that from going to school, correct?
No, but that's what I mean. So like my elders taught me certain things a certain way, the way yours would teach you a certain way. And unless we communicate with each other, unless we have that dialogue, we don't know the way other people look at the same thing.
Right.
I had a conversation with a good friend, and I know we're wrapping up, but I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, lawyer, intelligent, half Japanese. And we were having a long time, and he said, you know what? I'll tell you why I'm mad at the Jews. And I said, all right, this is going to be good. he said, I mean, not really mad, but the reason why I'm mad at the Jews is because the Japanese had internment camps, but those weren't internment camps.
Mhm.
Concentration camps. America concentrated Japanese into certain areas. Internment is a nice way to say it, but it wasn't nice. It was concentration. Right. And I said, okay, look, let's be clear. It wasn't Jews who changed the name to internment camps. It was the Japanese. Because he didn't realize this, because concentration camps were death camps.
Right.
But Jews called it concentration camps because to call it a death camp was too hard to teach and too hard to explain to people and just too hard to process. So when Japanese called them concentration camps, people would go, well, it's not like Jewish concentration camps. Like, what are you complaining about? So when they changed their names to internment camp, and that's the way they started to address it, that's when people started saying, wow, that's screwed up. That's horrendous. Like, that's unacceptable. But just to hear the change in language, and then by talking to my friend about it, he's like, I never saw it from that point of view. I always thought something different. And then, you know, I mean, we were friends before and after. It wasn't going to change anything. Yeah. But it's just, I remember that like particular points in time where you learn something different.
Exactly. Because like I said, we
learn from different people.
We all grow differently. We all come from different backgrounds, you know, but I think we all want the same common goals, you know, peace, prosperity, love, you know, all good, you know, good health, you know, all those things, you know, so, but let's go ahead and wrap this up, Mark. We're gonna keep it moving, and
thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on, and let me know when we'll come back.
Thank you for coming on the show, the Justice League, you know. And,
I'll take it.
You know, that's a wrap. All right, Shango. Till then, it's your boy Lamar Mack, aka I Deliver.